Thank you. Thanks so much for that introduction, Cole. I'm so happy to be here today, and I was delighted to be asked to present. I am in the Education and Practice section of the School of Computing Science, which is all to do with thinking about how we teach and learn computing science. And I'm going to be talking to you about building your academic network and why it's never too early to start. So, what do we mean when we say the words academic network? Well, what we're talking about here is about building and maintaining professional relationships, and that could be with other researchers, with academics, or industry professionals. For me, this is an essential part of being a well-rounded researcher. It's as important as doing your research, is making those connections, reaching out to people, and connecting in the spaces where knowledge is formed. And that's what really the advantages are of building an academic network. It's about thinking about how to connect, to exchange ideas with other people, to share that knowledge, and to explore opportunities for research collaboration and research support. Because I tell you, being a PhD student can feel like the loneliest experience in the world. But actually, there are a wealth of other people out there that you can tap into and networks that you can form to make that experience feel a lot less lonely and a lot more fulfilling. Ultimately, I think for me, the goal is to help expand my reach within the academic community. I am aiming to publish throughout my PhD, and I know that if I have formed an academic network, getting my research out there is going to be an easier process. So, what types of networks are there? When I talk about an academic network, I can talk about things either in a formal or an informal way. So, formal academic networks might be things like societies, groups, or conferences. And informal networks could be something as simple as a peer group. We can also think about academic networks from a local or a national or an international perspective. Local could be networks which are here at the university. National networks could be within the country that you're in. And international networks, well, we live in a global society now, right? So international networks are a lot easier to tap into than perhaps they would have been 30 or 40 years ago. But this all still sounds quite abstract. So let me give you some concrete examples of my academic networks and how they've helped me in my studies so far. So the first one I'm going to give you is the importance of peer networks. This is an informal network. It's local and national, really. And so I co-lead a group of PhD students, and we meet once a month, and we all talk about computing education research. Now, I'm in a field that in the UK is very, very small. There are probably about 30 to 40 PhD students in my field in the whole of the United Kingdom. We are finding each other. We are getting together. We are going to take over the world one day, maybe as well. But what we do is every month we just hang out in this really relaxed, really chilled online space, supporting each other, talking about what we're doing. And if you're wondering how informal it is, last month we had 6 of us, and we also had 2 children and 1 horse, which was brilliant because it just made it such a relaxed and enjoyable atmosphere. And this time was something that really refreshed me and helped me to sort of feel more encouraged to carry on with my own PhD studies. Another type of network is online platforms and social media. So in terms of categorizing what type of networks these are, we're talking about more formal networks here that can be national and international. The social media platforms I prefer to use are LinkedIn and ResearchGate because they reputationally are seen as trustworthy and professional networks. Obviously, if you're going to post anything about your research itself, please do check and adhere to any university policies or school policies that are in place. And then for me, from there on in, it's about how you present yourself. So first of all, making sure that you've got an accurate and engaging profile picture. When you go to things in real life, you may have connected with people already via social media. You want them to be able to recognize you when you get there. For me as well, it's important to give as much as you take on these platforms. So where I would sometimes reach out for help or ask questions, it's also important for me to offer support to others, answer their questions, and try and find resources that would help others as well. And finally, an important principle for me is to be authentic. We're living in a world of large language models that can generate text now. And I think we'll all be getting wise to spotting the social media posts that have perhaps been generated or based on text from large language models. For me, having a presence on social media as a researcher is about finding my own voice, writing in that voice, and being authentic in how I present myself to the world. So a third network that I've leveraged is around attending conferences and workshops. And this is a picture of me earlier this year, presenting a poster on my PhD work at the University of Uppsala in Sweden. And I was going to start in an earlier version of this presentation by saying I was fortunate enough to receive funding to attend this conference. And then I stopped myself and I went, no, this isn't good fortune. This is a result of hard work, of networking. So when the good things happen in networking, it's never that you just got lucky. It's because you put the work in and it's paid off. So I received funding from the University of Uppsala for my flights and accommodation to Sweden, which was amazing, and I'm super grateful to them. And the reason I think I got that funding was it was all about choosing the right event. So a big focus in my research is around equity, inclusion, and this was a conference that had that inclusion and equity focus to it as well. So it was a good match. And that's why I think I managed to unlock that funding. Once I was there, I was employing networking strategies to make sure I made the most of talking to other people at the conference. That involved sometimes even just loitering at the coffee station at the right time, just as somebody else that I really wanted to talk to happened to go up. I would just happen to be there at the same time so I could strike up a conversation. It's not easy. I have to put myself out there. I have to tell myself to be brave to do this. But I really found that I got more out of the conference by doing that. I was also lucky enough to be able to present my work in a short presentation. There was a number of us attending a doctoral consortium there. And so that was super nice because it meant there was something that I could talk to other people about and they could come and approach me about as well. And post-event follow-up was something that was really important as well. Some of the researchers that I'd met and connected with, and we'd exchanged sort of email details and so on and so forth. I made sure that I pursued those conversations and that we established that connection so that I've built relationships that I can draw upon later or they can come and draw to me on later. And then finally, my fourth network is around the idea of approaching senior researchers, which may seem quite daunting, but researchers love to talk to PhD students. We're doing all the innovative stuff. We're doing all the novel stuff. They're really interested to see what's coming up in the field next. And so people I have found are quite open to being approached by PhD students. And so I really encourage you to think about how you can leverage that interest professionally. So first of all, if you're going to approach somebody more senior to ask for some information or perhaps to suggest mentoring or a collaboration, first of all, be prepared. Find out about them, really know what their research is about, read their research. There will be a lot of it out there. Secondly, think about how you can craft a professional introduction for yourself. Think about how you can explain who you are, what your research is about, and make it last no more than 2 minutes. It's that old classic of an elevator pitch where you get into the elevator on the ground floor and suddenly somebody really interesting and important gets in as well. And you've got 2 minutes till the elevator gets to the top floor to be able to capture their attention. Thirdly, if you're at an event, please do go ahead and attend people's talks that you're interested in because that gives you an insight into what they're working on. And be genuinely curious about what other people are doing. It's really easy when you're working on your own research to be so absorbed in it that you can't lift up your head and see what else is going around around you. But if you can have that genuine curiosity, it will provide the conversation openers and the starters that you need to make those connections. I'd always recommend starting with a question or a request for advice rather than going straight in and asking for something like collaboration or mentorship. And then once you've established that connection, please do follow up and build the relationships. I've found that that can be infrequent and quite often it is via social media, but it keeps that connection going. And for me, the biggest thing that I've managed to achieve so far through my academic network with approaching senior researchers was my first work publication. So that was published last year at a conference. I was part of an international team who worked on a paper, and out of the four of us, I was the one that was selected to present that paper at the conference as well. So it gave me another sense and set of experiences. So if this has inspired anybody on the call in any way to start getting your own academic network together, some things that I would recommend from my experience for setting up a networking action plan. First of all, get a pen and paper or some mind mapping software and draw who is in your network already. Think about who you connect with already. Think about this inside the university and out with the university as well. And then as you start to draw, you'll see gaps and opportunities, and you'll start to think about, oh, maybe I could look at this, or maybe I could do that. If you're thinking about short-term actions, things that are quick wins, I definitely recommend looking at what social media platforms you're using and online platforms and making sure your profiles are up to date on those. And I'd also recommend at this time of year, it's a really good time to be connecting with sort of societies and groups. I saw an email go around the other day from somebody in my school who was just saying, oh, I'm a PGR student. I want to meet with other PGR students and form a support group. Is anybody interested? There's always people asking, sort of wanting to connect, and you could be the one to initiate that, because if you go ahead and initiate it, I bet you'll get other people who are interested too. But also think long term and medium term too. As I said near the start, we're living in a global society. There are so many opportunities out there. And I really wish you all the best of luck in terms of finding the opportunities that work for you. In terms of practicing what I preach, if you have found that anything that I've said has resonated with you and you want to keep in touch with me and sort of keep me in your academic network, then my email address and LinkedIn and ResearchGate details are on the slides, which I hope will come round to you. Please reach out. Everybody that I talk to in the academic community is happy to talk. I'm no exception to that. But for now, I'm going to say thank you for listening, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.